And thank you for being here. This morning we want to talk a lot about community, and so we want to make sure that we respect the community's time. It is Mother's Day weekend, and we want to make sure that we get you out of here timely, because some folks, their children are guilting them right now, and right, talking about you, where are you? It's a Saturday morning, you're supposed to be here with us. So for those of you who I don't know, my name is Samuel Frisbee, one of the co-founders of the Capital City Area Black Caucus. We've got my brother Big John in the house, who's another one of the co-founders of the Capital City Area Black Caucus. We want to go ahead and get you started this morning. I first of all want to say thank you to Pastor Boyer and my First Lady for opening up the doors of their church as they do every month for us. We really, please give them a hand. We really appreciate the fact that you do this every month. They are truly what we call community servants, right? Community servants that no matter what they've got going on, they make sure that the community has access to this building. And they've always told us that as long as we're doing the community's work, that we would have access to the building. And so my name is Samuel Frisbee again, one of the co-founders, one of the commissioners for the Mercer County Board of Commissioners. And I want to just kind of start you out this morning. You know, John Bailey and I were talking a little bit about community. And you know, what really drives community? We're in search of community. We're trying to figure out what community actually looks like. And community looks like something different to every person. And it reminds me of a story that I was told about a young king. And this young king was in search of community. His name was King Uzziah. And King Uzziah, and he's looking for community. He was a king in Africa. And what he thought was community was to create and assimilate every village in the community to look like his home village. And so what he began to do was he began to go to village and began to wage war on each one of the villages. But as he was waging war in order to take over the villages, he realized that he was killing off all of the men in the community. He was beginning to decimate the full community. He was tearing up the land in each one of the communities and killing the value of each one of those communities. So he then came up with a thought. He said, I'm going to create a new type of war. And it's going to be a war without words. And he sent word to this one particular village, which was going to be the first village that he would walk into and have a war without words. King Uzziah walks towards the village, and as he walks towards the village, all the villagers are waiting around the village, and as he and his army begin to walk through the center of the village, it begins to part like the Red Sea. And they get to the center of the village, and as they get to the center of the village, King Uzziah steps out into the middle of the circle and says, who is it that you've chosen to challenge me? And this little woman steps forward. And King Uzziah said, let the war begin. King Uzziah looked at the woman and he did like this. And the woman stepped back and she did like this. King Uzziah said, King Uzziah did like this. And the woman stepped back and did like this. King Uzziah went into his pouch that he was carrying on the side, and he pulled out this vat of meat that was rotting with worms and maggots in it, and he showed it to the woman. And the woman went into her pocket and she pulled out an egg. And King Uzziah looked at her and said, you've won, you've defeated me. Your village can go free. And King Uzziah went home and he was feeling defeated, and he was sitting there with his wife, and he said, I don't understand what happened. He said, I did all that I could do. I pulled out all my best moves. I did like this as to say, if you guys try to stand against us, that I will scatter your village in waste. He said, I did like this to say that no matter what you do, I can divide your village, and your village will lay in waste. He said, then I pulled out the rotting meat, and I said, your village, if we come here in war, your village will die, and maggots will eat the bones of your ancestors. And on the other side of the country, the little old lady was sitting around with the villagers, and they said, "Tell me, how did you do it? How did you defeat King Uzziah?" She said, "Well, I don't know." She said, "I saw everybody moving towards the middle of town, so I followed the crowd to see what was going on. When I got there, I was standing on the edge of the circle, and somebody pushed me in the middle of the circle. When they pushed me in the middle of the circle, he did like this, and I said, 'Well, if you do, I'm gonna punch you in your eye.' He said he did like this, and he said he was trying to poke me in my eye, so I went there like this to block it. She said he showed me his lunch, so I showed him mine." Moral of the story: community looks different for everybody. And if we don't take charge of what community looks like and begin to change and shift with one another, we'll all lay in waste. And so, as we begin to talk about this process of community, I want to bring forth one of my brothers who embodies what community looks like. My brother John Harmon. For years, many people don't know, John and I have talked about this over the years, that John is a treasure. He's a national treasure. The nation has recognized him. And sometimes in your own home, a prophet doesn't receive the due that he is due. And so I want you guys to welcome my man John Harmon to the mic, because again, he is a national treasure that we have the blessing of having here every day. John.
Give our Commissioner Frisbee a round of applause. One, I did not expect that. And two, he's so ever ready. Amen? Mr. Stockman, it's been a while. Good to see you here today. I'm excited just to be here. I've been in this town all my life, and it's good to see that we're on a resurgence, if you will. Opportunities abound. We have new council leadership, and our council president is here. Give her a round of applause. I have two announcements I want to make, and I'll take my seat. This is always exciting. The fact that the Lord said he'll deliver by few or many. And oftentimes, people get really excited when they see a room full of people. And the example that a commissioner just articulated, it was just one person against a multitude of people. So you don't need a lot of people to get things done, you just need the right people. And I think we're starting to get the right people in the right place for the right time. And we must seize the moment, right? So I'm going to talk about one local situation that could have some real encouraging implications, and I'm going to talk about something statewide. So I'm the founder, president, CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, and on June 15th, for the first time, we're going to host a Black Expo. Juneteenth Black Expo. It's going to be held in Montclair State University. And the governor has agreed to come to give some remarks. And Robert Smith, he's the CEO of Vista Equity Partners, one of the wealthiest black men in the world. He's agreed to grace us with some remarks. He's going to be out of the country, so he can't be on ground. And we've also got a commitment last night from the National Action Network. So we're going to have Reverend Seffi Barnes there, and he's like, bartling there, "John, why am I not on the program?" I said, "Well, I didn't get around to you," but nonetheless, he's going to be there. So we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship from Tulsa to Trenton. We're going to talk about, have corporations on hand to do matchmaking for contract opportunities. Going to have a career fair. There's going to be a whole AI exhibit when you go throughout the walls. We're putting a significant amount of money into this event. And if you can be there, it'd be fantastic. If you have friends that you can invite, we want this to be a success because it represents Black excellence. And And Trenton's own Showtime is gonna close us out with some entertainment. So Trenton has to be connected to whatever we do, and it doesn't necessarily have to be me. So if you could come out, it'd be great. AACCNJ.com for additional information. Now to the home front. City Council in a few days are gonna be entertaining potential developers for the Roebling site. And I've been in this town, I'll be 63 in September. And I've seen a lot of circuses come to the city of Trenton, and the people that live here don't get a ticket to participate. And we hear about, you know, the city's gonna change, but it's amazing who comes to town when there's money on the line. And it happens all the time. And then we hear folks say that we want to get Black and Latino participation because it's important to the city. And then there's a bunch of apologies after the contract is let. So I'm going to ask you all to strongly consider, we have a Black firm that's going to make a presentation. JAS is the firm. They have they put the team together, they have the experience, they have the capacity. And some of which they're envisioning for the Roebling site is a maternal health program, in addition to housing and other stuff. All I'm asking is that you be objective, and if the community could come out for this Black firm, led by a Black man who lived in Trenton for, I think he said something 20-odd years, went to Trenton schools, raised 2 kids in Trenton, and they have an office now, I believe, in Lawrence or Princeton. But they're a member of the chamber. We're gonna support them. I'm supposed to be in Philadelphia that night. I haven't told them yet, but I will be in council chambers that night because I want to watch and see how the process plays out. But this is a time for us to do what we say we want to do. This is a time for us to get our desired outcome. And so I'm going to yield back with that. And anybody that's in business that lives in Trenton or Mercer County, you should consider the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. Our membership is just shy of 900 members. I would say at least 30% are not Black. So you don't have to be a Black business to be a member, but you have to be a serious organization to be a member. That's our prerequisite. God bless you, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
So it's really important. John mentioned Juneteenth, and I know we've got a lot of different things going on. When people that are part of our network, when they announce that they're doing things, we got to show up. It's important that we show up because the numbers mean something. Your body, your presence means something when we step into a room. And if we want to really talk about Black community, if we want to talk about Black empowerment, if we want to talk about economic empowerment, we want to talk about getting the lead out, we want to talk about all of those different things, then when we are doing things together, when the city's running programs, when the Y is running programs, we got to show up. And it's important for us to do that. So make sure that you get that date. John, what was that date again for Juneteenth?
June 15th.
June 15th. All right, what time?
Starts at 9.
Starts at 9 o'clock.
All day.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to have very quick greetings from 2 of our elected officials in the room. I'm going to ask my counterpart, Ms. Nina Melker, former past president of the Commissioner Board, and Council President Teska Frisbee, if they'll come to the front, please, and bring us greetings.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to bring greetings from our Commissioner Board. What Sam said really is key about showing up, and I make it a very important part of making sure that I show up for this meeting every month. Because I know how important it is, because community is key. And that's something the Commissioner Board puts a lot of effort into, to making sure that we pay attention to what's going on in our communities, and that when we did our budget, we just finished up all of our long budget hearings, that we made sure that there was money in that budget to do the things that are important to our communities. So I'm so thrilled to always be here to support my colleague, and on behalf of the Commissioner Board, have a great day and happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, yes, definitely. Come on up, Council President Frisbee. You know, it's when Nina talks about showing up, she has shown up from day one. This is the 2023, this is the 6th year of the Capital City Area Black Caucus doing its work in this county. And when Nina ran 6 years ago, this was the very first event that she had come to in the city, and she saw that it was worthy of her time. And so she's rarely ever missed. I think in the last 6 years, she might have missed 3. And we've gone every month, even during the pandemic, because we went on Zoom, every month for the last 6 years. And so I really want to thank Nina because she's always shown up. This person has shown up not because she wanted to, because she had to. Council President.
And she wanted to. So good morning, everyone, and I first give honor to God. I thank God for my pastor, our First Lady, for all of the members of Greater Mount Zion, and for everyone that is here this morning. Thank you for taking your time out to be here in our beautiful capital city. I'm excited to stand here before you as council representation, be at the president's seat or just in the council seat. I'm grateful to be here. We are doing some great things in our capital city, and we want folks to get behind us. Just as John said, we have to support one another. We have to show up, but it's one thing to talk about it, but when you show up, that means you're ready to do something about it. Our city, I'm wearing the shirt that I have on today. It's like the 2nd month in a row. I'm running from Mom's event, and I'm running here. Didn't have time to change, but I will. But the city has partnered with the Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America on June 3rd. We are having our Wear Orange event. It is the biggest event that moms have. It's a nationwide event, and it is gun violence awareness. And we're asking everybody to come out and support. We're going to be at Unity Square Park, formerly known as Columbus Park. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On that day, we ask you to adorn yourself in orange, and we want to wrap our arms around families who've been impacted by gun violence. There's going to be a whole lot that's going on, and this is a really emotional time for a lot of people. So we're asking you if you would have a moment of your time to give, to show somebody else some love. But for the grace of God, this could be you in their seat. With City Council, we are asking you to come out. We meet every first, although in the month of June we won't be the first Tuesday because it is election, and we hope that you will come out and make sure that we vote strong. But here's a plug there. They are paying $300 for poll workers. We ask you to get, whether it is, if your child is 16 and they have working papers, tell them to come on out. $300 they can get in their pocket for the day. You do not have to be a child. It can be any person who has the day available to work. We want them to come out. We want them to we want our poll workers, and we want our community to be out there to do what? Community, our community. So let's do that. But there's a lot that's going on in the community, and I ask you to come on out to City Council. Come out and let your voices be heard. There might be some things that you want to talk about. We want to hear about it. Like I said, there are only 7 of us. We don't know everything that's going on in the city, but we're trying to keep our pulse of what's going on in the city. So we want you to come out, give us your thoughts, give us your feedback. And if you're not in agreement with us, that's okay. As long as you're respectful, we receive that. We're not going to get it right every time, but just know that we're doing our best to get it right. We're getting ourselves worn seats. It's been a little over 4 months now, and we're getting our footing. And it's good to see our council of our state, Trenton, I'm getting it wrong, president of Mercer County, present with us today. Thank you so much. I see you in the audience. But I just want to say good morning to everybody. Thank you, and I think I'm yielding my time now. Thank you, husband.
So important theme, thank you, Council President, important theme. We really need poll workers. The county is currently short 200 poll workers. Recognize that because we do early voting now, and early voting is, I believe, 7 days a week, Paula, right? Where Paula go? Right, 9. So multiple dates. It takes a lot more poll workers now. And so we are short 200 poll workers. If we don't get those 200 poll workers, the Board of Elections has talked about reducing voting locations by 16 throughout the county. We can't have that, right? And so what we need are people to come out and actually be poll workers. We need you to get in touch in the next week or two, because you can't just show up on the day and try and be a poll worker, because there is technology that is involved, there's training that is involved. But we believe that we can get those other 200 poll workers, but we need to spread the word here. I'm going to ask another one of our founders, co-founders, Janine LaRue, if she would come on up and have a couple minutes of remarks, 2 minutes. I'm trying to get us back on schedule now. I promised Tom I was going to get him out here on time.
I love you. My comments are really going to be 2 minutes or less, because I was asked, I see on the agenda, it says talk about opportunities, challenges, and choices. And to me, that really is just one word or 2 words: working together. We have a real opportunity. If you remember just a year ago what things looked like in the city, in the county, people complaining about NAACP, look what has happened in a year. A whole new government at the city level. We're looking at no primary for the county exec next month. We're looking at new leadership. Are we still trying to get him to join his church? New leadership with the NAACP. So I don't have anything else to say other than working together. Because I'm telling you, if we really take this serious, Madam President, all right, our county clerk, all the folks who are out here today, there is so much, Andrew Bobbitt, we can do as a team. So I'm encouraged. I would ask you just one thing to think about. If you don't have anything on your schedule next Saturday, or if it's something on your schedule that's not as important as you thought it was, come on out here at 3 o'clock next Saturday. Join us as we dedicate this sanctuary. Because when we started out meeting here, this was a basketball court. And the walls behind us and all around us didn't look the way it does right now. And we did this in this church under our leadership by working together. Thank you very much.
See, on Mother's Day weekend, my mama knows how to follow directions. Yeah, go ahead, Mom. Paul, if you come on up, and we want to talk a little bit about June 6th. We vote twice a year, every year. Some folks in the city sometimes only think that we vote once every 4 years, but we do vote twice every year, and we want Paul to talk a little bit about June 6th.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you, Pastor Boyer and Mrs. Boyer, for having me as well. It's often, and I think that it's very important to bring the community together. I wanted to also just point out to you that a lot of people don't realize we do have an election in June. I just got a call the other day about someone at the office saying, do we have an election this year? And I said, we have an election every year. Some years more candidates are on the ballot than others, but we have an election every year. So the primary election this year, it is going to only have a few candidates. I will tell you that the Hopewell Borough is the only election in the Democratic side. There's a mayoral race there for the Democratic mayor. And then in the Republican side, we have a race for the 14th legislative district. There are 3 people running for 2 positions on that ticket. So that's pretty much everything on this election. But it's important for us to have this because it shows you're engaged, it shows you're expressing your voice, and you're participating in democracy. So you gotta vote. And also it's gonna be good for us to have hopefully a very smooth election. We can get all these processes very clear and worked out because we wanna make sure that everybody's experience going into November when we do have races throughout the entire county in November. We have Republican opponents to every Democratic race and vice versa, so I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. So it's important people vote. So the deadlines are that the vote by mail ballots have already been mailed out for this election, but you can still apply for a vote by mail ballot if you think you're going to be away or you want to just make sure you get that vote logged in. The deadline to mail in your application is May 30th. And then the deadline you can still walk into the county clerk's office until June 5th at 3 o'clock. So if you miss the mailing deadline, you still want to come in and vote, you can come into our office and fill out an application. We'll hand you a ballot and you can just fill it out right there. I know Ms. Hazel's done it and brought people in. You come in, you mail it, and you'll fill out the ballot and you drop it in the front right at the drop box and you're done. You voted. And these drop boxes are a great way to return your vote by mail ballots. They're all over the county. There are 4 in Trenton, including at Henry J. Austin Center, there's one in front of the county clerk's office, there's one at City Hall, and there's one over Trenton High School, thank you. We also have them all over the county, and you can use any drop box in Mercer County to drop off that ballot. So if you're say you work in Ewing, you can go to the Ewing drop box and drop it off at TCNJ or at the municipal building. So there are many drop boxes. You also can mail it in, the postage is prepaid, thank you to the commissioners they pay for that, so that you don't have to pay to mail your ballot back, because they know that you shouldn't have to pay to vote. And that is not true everywhere. But in our county, we have commissioners that are very kind and generous, and they feel people should not have to pay for voting. So thank you for that. And lastly, you can also walk into the Board of Elections office, which is at Spruce Street near the farmer's market. You can walk in and you can hand it in. And some people don't trust the mail and they don't trust the drop boxes and they want to actually hand it in. You can do that right at the Board of Elections office at 930 Spruce Street in Trenton. So yes, early voting is June 2nd through 4th. At early voting, we still use voting machines. The voting machines are very easy to use, and you can go to any early voting location in Mercer County. We have 7 throughout the county, and you can vote there. And those are all on my website. There was one at Parkside Avenue, which is the Mercer County Youth Detention Center, the former Youth Detention Center, which is very good. We have one at Mercer County Community College in West Windsor. We have one, where is the one in Trenton? Do you remember? Early voting. Do we still have it?
Still at the
Firehouse, Perry Street, Firehouse, okay. Yeah, and then there's one in Colonial Firehouse in Cruiser Road in Hamilton. And there's one in Lawrence Library as well. So there are many, and I don't want to try to do this all the time, but there are 7 throughout the county.
On the website.
On the website, and that's June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then Election Day, as I said, is June 6th. So thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. And as I do want to reiterate, we do need poll workers. And so as Commissioner Frisbee said, if you know of somebody who might want to work for the day, $300, but you might not get rich on it, but you're doing a community service and you're helping democracy. So we could really use the poll workers now, and you'll get some good training for this election so that for next year, when we have a presidential election, and for November, you'll be ready to go. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. So, Paula and Mom, you got me right back on schedule. Even though we had started a little bit later today. I'm going to invite a couple of folks up front. First person I'm going to invite is Miss Khadijah McQueen, who is working and pushing the programs for the city of Trenton. And let me tell you that this young lady is absolutely phenomenal. I had an opportunity to work with her and meet her almost 20 years ago when her father used to run the Sam Naples Recreation Center. And when Khadijah came home, I don't know if you were in school, but I know you were coming back from someplace, she said, I want to be the Double Dutch coordinator. And she ran Double Dutch for the city of Trenton and has risen to prominence in the city over the last 15 years. She is the guru when it comes to food insecurity for the city of Trenton. We stole her away from the city of Trenton when I was the CEO of the YMCA, and then the city stole her back. So she is actually the preeminent person when it comes to that. And she said, I want to leave from doing food insecurity because I want to impact children. And so she was impacting children there, but she wanted to do it on a more global level for the city of Trenton. So Khadijah McQueen, you got 4 minutes, sis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So my name is Khadijah McQueen. I am Recreation Supervisor for Department of Recreation, City of Trenton. So I just want to talk about a couple of our summer youth programs that's going on, spring as well. On Saturday, May 20th, we will have Kids to Parks Day, Unity Square Park, formerly known as Columbus Park. This will be 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Hamburgers, hot dogs, rock wall climbing. It's just an effort to get kids out into the parks. Activities away from the PlayStations, you know, the cell phones, you know, and become active. Saturday, June 3rd, we have the Youth Fishing Derby, grades 2nd through 8th grade. New Jersey DEP will be assisting us in, you know, showing the kids how to fish. There will be prizes, biggest fish, oddest fish. Lunch will be provided, exhibitors will be there. So come out and join us. The flyer is on the City of Trenton website. And then I want to talk about our summer hiring. So we are hiring, got 4 minutes, right? I got a lot of stuff. We are hiring over 60 to 80 youth in the City of Trenton. Summer food service program, they are student assistants, are taken to the streets, and lifeguards as well. Applications went out in March. We are now doing a hire process. Our summer program starts June 26th through August 25th. Some of our summer programs that's going on is Take It to the Streets. We will be over 20 locations in the City of Trenton for our neighborhood block parties. Fun Fitness Tuesdays, where we become active. Everything is free. We have partnered with things like Dames Day and Zingo, Zumba, and this will be 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Let me see. Movie Stars will be at dusk at our park locations. This will go into the fall to September 2023. We do have, yes. We do have our summer concert series. Will be on a variety of locations throughout the City of Trenton. This will happen on Friday and Saturday. And then I'm gonna talk about our summer camps that we have from Trenton Fire Department. This will start July 11th through August 25th, 8:30 to 4 p.m., ages 12 to 16. Teaching public safety education, public safety certification, community service, team excursions. And then we do have another summer program from our Trenton Police Department. This will be youth for ages 10 to 15 years of age. We'll be holding 4 summer camp sessions from July 10th through July 14th, July 17th through July 21st, August 7th through August 11th, August 14th through 18th, from 8 to 4 p.m. And applications are due by Friday, June 23rd. You can be emailed Miss Tamika Ville at tville@trentonpolice.net. And the information, I believe, is on the website. Yes. And so I just say come out and join us for a variety of programs. Flyers will be available at the end of the month on the City of Trenton website, as well as the Department of Recreation. So I think that's my 4 minutes. That's all I have. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. Great job. Great job. Khadijah does a phenomenal job at everything she does. Oh, we have a question?
Yes, so awesome question. I forgot about our literacy program that would happen at our recreation center. So we do have recreation centers in the City of Trenton, and they will operate 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is free to the youth. We do have a literacy program that's happening there. We have also partnered with Trenton Public Library. Our kids does visit the library. We're gonna actually have a Take It to the Streets block party where we'll be handing out books and different information as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Khadijah. Do we have Christina Jones in the house? Boys and Girls Club? All right, we're gonna keep it moving then. This other young lady that is coming before you is doing some phenomenal work over the Capital Area YMCA. And I want you guys to recognize, so we're talking about community. Community operates in multiple cycles and multiple spheres, right? And so there are different universes of community. The particular community that she is actually engaged with, I'm really, really proud of the work that she's doing, but her ability to actually be in that space. With the YMCA, Most people don't recognize we are an international movement in 133 different countries with 773 YMCA corporate associations in the country, United States, and with 773 CEOs. She actually represents a very small group of African American CEOs who are about 46 of the 773 in the country. And so the work that she's doing here is important, but it's important that we continue to lift her up and lift up not only in prayer, but also in the work that she does to ensure that people recognize that it's incredibly valuable work here in the city. Louise McCants.
Thank you much. Thank you so much, Sam, for that, because that number is great. And I am actually one of 6 African-American women that are CEOs of the 770 YMCAs. And I thank Sam for this opportunity because I'm a child of Trenton. I've learned in this community, and it's important to me to serve my community. And that's because of people like Ms. Ethel right there and Dr. Campbell, and seeing them, and my principal, Ms. Richardson Green, that, poured into me while and if you know her, she poured very strongly into you, but it helped me to build and be the person that I am today, and that's why I wanted to serve. And so talking about summer programs is very important to me because I was a child of the Y. I'm a Y kid that became a Y CEO. And so I want all opportunities, all our kids to participate in summer programs because it's such an enrichment. And when you talk about the literacy and stopping learning loss, that's what we're trying to do at the Y, for sure, incorporating that into our summer programming. So we have programs for all the kids from, preschool all the way up, okay? And my wonderful seniors. So we have some of our senior participants that's in here too, that we're still doing summer program as well in the summer to engage our seniors as well. And so we want to make sure I make that plug. And that some of our seniors are in the New Jersey Senior Pageant, June 1st. And we're sponsoring a bus ride down to Atlantic City. I have to say it like that, but it's at Harris. And so that's part of one of our, just one of our enrichment programs too that we're continuing into the summer. So just don't want to just plug the kids because that's important. We are there we have 2 locations for our summer programming. That's literally one down the street, our Trenton location of our Capital Area YMCA, and we're also at Rider University. And so I have flyers too that have the QR codes to sign them up because it's very important. We also have dance camp for our wonderfuls who want to continue, dancing throughout the summer because it's all about engagement. It's all about engagement. When it was Vacation Bible School, and I'm a child of this church too. I'm a child of this church. Mount Zion is still my family's church. We're not going to talk about membership, but I also was part of Shiloh as well. And so I know how important the community is in bringing, having something for all of those kids to do during the summer. And our opportunity at the Capital Area Y is to bring that to the kids in so many various formations of collaborating with other community organizations to make sure our kids get a full enrichment of summer programming. So we are 8 weeks strong. And we offer all kinds of subsidies and scholarships, and we want you to sponsor kids because that is so important for them to be engaged in the summer. We talk about the kids have nothing to do. The city just said all this program, and I love Khadijah because she is working so hard at getting things and getting people, involved. And, we're collaborating with them as well because it doesn't even have to be the Y, because this is our community service, I'm driven. It doesn't have to be the Y. Get those kids anywhere. Okay, I will tell you, if it's not us, go here, go there. Boys and Girls Club, I wish they were there because I feed people to them all the time. CYO, all the programs, Children's Home Society, all of them. We're community. We are community, and so we want to serve. I don't want to go over my time, but my last thing I wanted to let you all know is that we are, and Sam, you will be happy to hear this, we're renovating our pool. We're renovating our pool. Our pool, the Capital Area Y, is one of the oldest Ys in the city. Okay, let me just do a quick history. 1856. 1856, we're one of the oldest Ys. We are the home of the first professional basketball team, first champions. And so we're gonna build on our history, and we have the oldest pool. That pool is old. I mean, one of the oldest pools, I'm sorry. Dr. Campbell's like, yeah, it is old. Yeah. It is. It's been there a long time. So we're going to renovate it, and then we're working to be able to offer swim lessons to all the residents. And our seniors are definitely, they want to get in there and do some aquatics, some programming with that. But this is the first step, to renovate it so that we can get kids in the pool, learn and teach them how to swim, because we're surrounded by water, and it's very important that our kids learn to swim and about water safety. So I'll yield I went over my time, and I apologize for that because I'm passionate about what I do. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, to both of you and to I had some parents who were interested in children participating in robotics programs. Do you have any coming up? Do you know where that can happen?
Well, we do STEM, so robotics, and yes, I will definitely give you some resources of people who are just doing robotics, but it's incorporated in STEM. We just want to make sure it's a range, always letting the children know there's so much more in STEM than just one aspect, and so just educating them, all of them, because we are doing coding this summer. That's part of building robots and stuff like that, so I'll make sure you get that information, because we are doing that. I'm sure, Khadijah, you want to answer that as well? Through the fire department. So Khadijah said through the fire department they're doing some STEM. And here you go, Dr. Campbell has some resources too, but I'll make sure you get our flyer because we are doing STEM this summer.
Thank you. Great job, great job. So 2 things on the robotics. One, I believe the Mercer County Community College is still doing the robotics out at the West Windsor campus. They actually have a nonprofit that's operating it there, so you can see Madam President on that. Andrew, I'm going to ask if you would take a look at, there was a group at 1 East State Street, that technology group that moved into the building. Can you find out if they're still they were doing coding and robotics a couple of years ago. Can you find that out? And then what we'll do is we'll email blast it out if they still are. All right, make some sense? Excellent, thank you. Now we have some phenomenal leaders in this city, and I'm just really, really proud of the work that I see them doing and how they're engaging. Before I bring up this next group, and I'm gonna give our new NAACP president 4 minutes to speak, but he's got a whole team with him. Yeah, we're excited because that can be, with the NAACP actually operating and engaged, and he's a Howard Bison too, gotta love it. But it can be a major tipping point for our community. I wanna say thank you to my neighbor, Ray, who is over here in the corner, getting us on Facebook and online. He's been doing this for almost 2 decades for almost any community that asks him. Any organization that asks him. Ray is a technology guru. That's what he does to keep the lights on. And so he's always been trying to make sure that the city moves forward with its technology and that we give people accessibility online at all times. And we don't pay him, but he shows up every month to try and make sure that people have accessibility to the Capital City Area Black Caucus. So thank you, Ray. So I'm gonna bring my fellow bison, HU. And he's married to a bison, and they got a little bison coming. Yeah. But I want to say that this young man, Austin, as you come forward, he has been doing incredible work outside of the NAACP, working with disadvantaged communities, working on housing issues, working on policy issues, on the school board here in the city of Trenton. I'm just really, really proud of the work that he's doing. And this is what community looks like when you go to work. Yeah. My man,
Thank you. Glad we got a mean HU in the building, all right? Mean HU. But thank you all for Thank you all for being here. Thank you for showing up to this amazing event. Thank you to CCABC for giving us the time to show that we're here in the community trying to do the work. I'd be remiss if I didn't give props to all of the work that I'm building upon, right? From our secretary, previous president, Ms. Johnette Smart, who's been doing this work for decades. Ms. Karine Broom, same thing, has been my first vice president, doing amazing work in the community with the NAACP, and we've been doing the work across the board because the NAACP, we try to address every issue civil rights touches. If you guys don't know, my name is Attorney Austin Edwards. Proud, born and raised here in Trenton. Yes. Went down to Howard Law as well, but it was very important for me to come back into the city and give back to the city I love and the people who are here that I love and work with day to day. Thank you. So a lot of people ask us, with the new team, what are we going to do for civil rights here in Trenton and all of Mercer County which we serve? And I'm going to be frank with you. Some of the answers, we give the answer and a lot of people are kind of thrown off. We are here in our administration and our vision is to end poverty in Trenton. Yeah. And I say people pause because half the time they're just like, so are you not going to talk about over-policing in our community? Are you not going to talk about, just solely healthcare in our city? Are you not going to talk about joblessness or homelessness? Why is that the biggest civil right? You're only worried about money here? That's the only concern that you have? But frankly, poverty touches every single aspect of civil rights that we fight for. If we did a poll around the room, everybody just raise your hand and count it off to 4. 1 in 4 people in Trenton are below the national poverty line. That is making less than $35,000 a year. And all you have to do is cross outside of our city lines, get into Mercer County, get into the rest of New Jersey. People are averaging making over $100,000 a year. 6% of us are either on food stamps, on WIC, on welfare, and you don't see that as soon as you cross the city borders. And why is this stuff important? Talking about healthcare. 10% of every child born to a Trenton household has a child that was born either underweight or premature. We have a 13% infant mortality rate here in the city of Trenton. 5% of all kids who went to the hospital for asthma-related conditions, Trenton. 5% of all kids here in Trenton still are dealing with lead-related issues, and it is 2023. And then we speak about education, which these champions know much about, right? And the conversation every time is just like, oh, Austin, you sit on the school board. Why aren't you worried about, the 60% graduation rate at Trenton? The rest of the state is hitting about 90%. Why are the SAT scores so low? The word resilience keeps coming up because we have 2% of all of our kids homeless in the city. 2,500 kids every single year go through a child abuse case. And we wonder why our numbers are so low, or why there's a civil rights issue, or why healthcare is such an issue for us. I don't know who came here using Route 29 or Route 1. I know I use that all the time, but we can start talking about climate justice and environmental racism, because it shouldn't take you to cross 6 lanes of a highway just to be able to touch the Delaware riverfront. Wow. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I know I only got my 4 minutes, and listen, I don't want to sit here and preach in Reverend Boyer's church. I know this is your area, all right? This is you. But this is the work that we're doing with the NAACP. We are addressing poverty. We are working on housing issues so you can spread wealth down to your children. We're making sure that you don't have discriminatory jobs keeping you from the paycheck that you deserve, and we're making sure that quality of life for all Trentonians and all people of color in Mercer County is fully accounted for. I'm going to ask you guys, next month we're going to have a swearing-in ceremony right here in Greater Mount Zion. I'm going to ask you all to join us. It takes $30, 1 car tank worth of gas to be a part of the NAACP. Come to the meetings, make sure that you're part of the committees, and make sure that we are dealing with the poverty issues here in Trenton. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Yeah. Great job. I was laughing with Sister Smart and Sister Grooms because they were trying to get their positioning right up here. And Sister Smart was the president for so long, she went to take the number 2 position. And they're like, oh no, we got to switch it up. And you're the vice president now. Yeah. But they're doing incredible work. And I do want to say Austin, because they are doing great work on the school board, because I always stay updated through Brother Gene, who's on the school board, who used to be on my board. The city of Trenton, the new numbers just came out for rankings in the state for schools. And City of Trenton schools actually took an 89 position jump in the state. That's a hand clap right there. As the preacher would say, if you don't know when to shout, that's a shout moment right there. 89 positions in the state, where they used to be ranked, close to the bottom, they jumped 89 other school districts. So phenomenal work that you guys are all are doing there as well. So when we talk about phenomenal work and black maternal health, and we talk about this particular house, there are 2 faces that always come to mind for me. Because I've never been an AME. My mom was an AME person. My grandmother was an AME preacher. I've always been a Baptist, musician and worked out of the Baptist tradition. But there's something about this couple. When they came to Trenton, they started creating all this good trouble. And feathers started getting ruffled. And, people started asking, well, who are those folks? From Winston they come, right? When I met, the pastor of this house, Charles Boyer, and First Lady Boyer, I said, these are special people. I might have been a Baptist all my life, but I think I'm about to be an AME. So I want you guys to make sure that you give the pastor of this house and his wonderful wife, who won't be speaking, but she's every place that he is. Give them a rewarded round of applause. Pastor Dr. Charles Boyer.
Thank you. Brother Commissioner, we praise God for you and your leadership. To everyone who's here today, there's a lot of black power in this room, always. But definitely on today, certainly to my wife, to all the members of Greater Mount Zion. I'm not going to be before you long. I want to challenge us today. My task is to challenge us today. But before I do that, let me just say, Happy Mother's Day. Amen. Happy Mother's Day. I'm going to ask Mary and Martha if they would help and begin to pass something out. Anybody who knows us well knows that Rosalie and Retha, who kind of keep the operation going, the multiple operations we have going. No, I call them Mary and Martha. Amen. Sisters and brothers, I want to challenge us today and just kind of give us framing. There's a panel coming up next, is that right, Sam? And I want to give them something wholeheartedly to respond to. The question before us today is, how do we gain ground? How do we gain ground? And gaining ground is not easy when you've been hog-tied, beat down, put in the basement, and folks been given a 400-year head start.
That's right.
So it's very hard to gain ground under those circumstances. But as a man of faith, one thing that I know is that I serve a God of the oppressed. And therefore that means we have an unfair advantage. Because when God is on your side, not only do you gain ground, but you stand at the top of the mountain and you're able to see so much further. And so, sisters and brothers, when I look in this room and who is always typically in this room, and as I have now spent 2 years getting to know folks like John I've known for many years, amen, Janine LaRue known for many years, so to a lot of folks when we came into Trenton, we were not strangers. There were folks who knew us and knew what we were doing throughout the state and knows wholeheartedly that if there's anything that can be said about us, and I praise God for it, is that we love black people. And we wake up every day trying to make the lives of black people better. And so when we were tasked to come to the city of Trenton, particularly to the oldest black church in Trenton, our role, our goal, and our mission was first and foremost to the congregation. But it was much more than that. Our role and our goal and our assignment was to be servants to the city of Trenton. And that's how we see ourselves in our roles. Sisters and brothers, we can gain ground even though we've been in several different places and people been on different roads. But there's a couple of things that is for sure. One is if we harness the power of black excellence, we can do mighty things. And I've spent a lot of time in Patterson, Newark, Camden, Jersey City, Plainfield, New Brunswick, Atlantic City, you name it. And I have yet in any of those places to see the level of black excellence as is everywhere in the city's capital. So that gives us an extraordinary opportunity, especially as the city is in an inflection point. Massive economic development will be happening here over the next several years. When you're in the place that Trenton is right now, the trends have been going down for so long, and just like the commissioner just laid out, even, right, starting to jump. What does that mean for us? Sisters and brothers, in order to gain ground, we have to have a black agenda. We cannot move forward if we don't even have the same talking points. And one of the things that I learned and experienced, and I'm not throwing shade, I'm just talking the truth. The generations before my generation were more concerned in getting personal position than they were in moving forward the people. Now, I'm not speaking about everybody, but I'm telling you what I know. Because our cities and our state would not be in the condition it's in if that weren't the truth. So we have black folks getting positions, but our people were getting more property, to what Brother President said. Our people in positions care more about the politics, so therefore they care more about locking people up, standing on get on tough, then getting people out of poverty and dealing with the root causes. And so, sisters and brothers, let me move quickly. What you have in your hand, I wanted to give you an example. John can attest to this. What you have is the United Black Agenda. And the United Black Agenda was something that we started when the Murphy administration, before they were actually in administration. Several of the black organizations across the state, statewide black organizations, came together and said, when a new administration comes, we gotta be on the same page. And we have to hold them accountable, and we have to advance things at the state level for our people. And so we had the state conference, NAACP, Salvation and Social Justice, which is our organization, which is now here in Trenton, Fair Share Housing Center, New Jersey Black Issues, the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, the Association of Black Women Lawyers, the African American Chamber helped us to found this piece. And what we did, sisters and brothers, we put together an agenda. We said, this is what we're going to hold this administration and leaders to. That's it. And we developed that agenda. I just want to go over quickly what that has meant. And it didn't pretend to be the only black agenda, but it was an agenda. Because how many knows we get folks elected, folks come in, and then we circle around and we say, well, they ain't do nothing for us. Well, you ain't never asked for nothing.
That's right.
They never knew what you wanted, because all we do is we get together and we complain, but we never have a solid set of things that we're asking for in order to hold people accountable to. So when you put it on paper, when we all know what it is, then when we're having conversations, it's not only accountability for the power structure, but it's also accountability for us. Because when you're talking to the power structure, if you're only advocating for yourself, you're out of pocket and you are not representing the community. So we can hold each other accountable as well. And so some of the things that we got done, sisters and brothers, there was an additional $15 million in state funds for first-generation home ownership. 83,000 new voters on the voting rolls who were formerly incarcerated. The development of the Cannabis Commission, we made sure, because at first they only had one black person, which was a black woman on the Cannabis Commission, which was great. But black men were locked up more than anybody else over cannabis. And we forced them to take off somebody and put on a black man. The establishment of the Fair Chance in Housing Act, $8.4 million investment in restorative justice hubs, $750 million investment in eviction relief. We reduced the prison population in New Jersey by a third. 9,000 people released from prison. The judicial appointments of 12 black women. The establishment of early voting. The continued path for implicit bias training for healthcare professionals. The end of prison gerrymandering. The passage of Housing Resource Center legislation. The Attorney General's office, because of the use of force complaints, police brutality. The Attorney General's office, because of our work and advocacy, put in place the use of force directive. The launch of racism as a healthcare crisis, body cameras, improved relations with the New Jersey Black Legislative Caucus. During the pandemic, we made sure, we fought to make sure they were tracking the data by race so we can have a targeted approach. And advocacy, and sisters and brothers, again around cannabis, when they were legalizing cannabis, they put the legislation, slid it under the door, a 300-page bill under the door on the weekend of the insurrection. And we're trying to take a vote on it on Monday while everybody was paying attention to Donald Trump's devilish ways. They were trying to pass legislation here in New Jersey that would have only benefited white folk. We shut the legislature down 4 times until they put in 70% of the tax revenue coming back to cities like Trenton. That's what we fought for. And because we were united, sisters and brothers, we were able to make a difference. So what I'm pledging, what I'm putting in front of us today, what I'm asking, what I'm begging of the black excellence intelligentsia, what I'm begging of folks that love and care about black folks, what I'm begging of all of us, we don't have to always agree, we don't have to agree on a perfect way to get there, but let's at least get on the same page, because one thing I know, that whatever has happened in the past, every single one of us want better for our people. So let's construct an agenda. Let's construct. So just think about the power of the Trenton branch NAACP, the capital city area Black Caucus, black elected officials. Think if even some of the black churches come along. Think about Shiloh and Greater Mount Zion and Friendship and Galilee and Union and just think about the power. The power we would have if we just had an agenda. You got a new county executive coming in. You got a new city council, right? You got just all the way around. And you have a governor who's going out, and you're going to have one coming in. And the state sure enough owe the city. Can you imagine going around the corner in the hundreds and the county commissioners and the pastors and the NAACP and the superintendent and the mayor, and we say you need to give us all $60 million that you owe us? Imagine the power in that. And then saying at least 20% of that needs to go to alleviate poverty. Think about the power. And so, sisters and brothers, here's what and it's perfect timing. Our policy director, Raquel Romans Henry from Salvation and Social Justice, just walked in with those 2 little beautiful babies. Sisters and brothers, Salvation and Social Justice, we develop a policy agenda every year. And so what I'm saying, what I'm asking, I'm begging permission of the capital city area Black Caucus, the leadership, that we just have a small section on this agenda. Once we have developed an agenda, when folks come here, they have to respond and report on how they're addressing the agenda. Because you don't get an A+ because you just showed up everywhere and brought a couple of chicken dinners and kissed some babies. You get an A+ when you done check the boxes. And then that begins to change our minds about how and who we vote for. We ain't got to tell you who to vote for because we're going to know whether you've been doing the job. And so, what Salvation and Social Justice is offering, now that Trenton is our home, to not only be on the agenda, but we know how to move policy. And so, what I'm proposing, that with the permission of the Capital City Area Black Caucus, and in partnership with the NAACP, and if we could bring, and think about, and look, here's the first thing I had on my notes, but I can't see, I got the wrong glasses on. Think about that agenda, because we've been talking real closely, because John and I have been friends for years. Think about the power of the chamber. Think about a document with what we're going for, with these legacy black orgs, black elected officials, black folks in power, saying this is what we're going for. Think about the power in that. I'm gonna stop there. But what I pose to, we can help in crafting this agenda. My proposal is this, and as we begin to frame out this next discussion, is if you all would agree and allow Salvation and Social Justice to serve the city of Trenton, by helping to facilitate the crafting of this agenda. What we can do after hearing these conversations today is in the next meeting, we just bring very, very, very high level stuff of what should be on the agenda categorically. So if you look at this, so we all know education and poverty, economic development, right? We know the high level things. We will come high level, bring it in front of the caucus, understand, agree, disagree, shape that, tweak it, and then build out working groups underneath each one of those areas. And then build out what the asks are, what the demands are underneath each one of those areas. And by the time we get into September, by the time we get into the fall, we can have a developed agenda, which we all agree on, and which we all can advocate for. And so, as we're framing this discussion, that's what's in. Think about housing. Think about the fact that if we're not careful, one of the most beautiful chocolate cities in the world will just push black folks to the margin. They'll no longer be able to live here unless you got big money like John, and John will be the only one can afford to live in Trenton. I'm playing. But seriously, so think about all of this, and there's ways we can get at this. And so, as we have this discussion, thinking about those high-level things that need to be there. We don't have to solve the world, but we need to solve something. Amen? So, thank you for your time, thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to the discussion.
See, that's why I'm an AME now. Right? The pastor talked about power, implications, and impact. Right? We got to begin to have some impact. Because we have all this power. We have black elected officials. We have the NAACP now, which is beginning to kind of bind people together. But when you have all that power, there's implication when you don't use it. Yeah. Right? Because if we don't use it properly, that means we're not having the impact we need to have. Pastor talked about folks, getting in position and open up the door for themselves. And I heard my man John over here say they walked in and they got position and then they closed the door behind them. And then somebody else said, yeah, and then they locked it tight. Right. So we don't want to be that. Right? And if we're going to change that, then we have to operate as community. We've got to have an agenda, because if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. If you're not at the table, then you're exactly, right? And so we can be at the table, but not have a menu, and somebody else has us on the menu, right? So we've got a response panel. This has just it's been really, really rich. I'm going to invite a few people to the front, and we're at the close. See, Tom, I told you I was going to get you to your next place on time, brother. All right? We have some incredible icons that are in the building. People that have been staples of not only the Trenton community, but the black community, the educational community here in the Trenton capital city area. And we want to have them come to the front, and this is our response panel. So we want you to talk a little bit. You all gonna get 3 minutes each. 3 minutes each now. I can do my best impression of the Sandman, because I still want to get us out of here on time. Well, I'm not gonna do it the JB way. We've got one of the icons in the room who I view as one of my mentors in the space of education, Dr. Diane Campbell, if you come up to the front. My brother, that when he came to this city and he began to do work over at Isles, I viewed him as one of my contemporaries, but a contemporary that I aspire to be like. My man, John Hart. My auntie here, who's mother at this church, but mother of the city, and when the governor was having his event at my YMCA and couldn't say my name for a couple of different reasons because there was some political stuff going on, she was the person that stood up and said, well, we got our commissioner here who's also the CEO of this house, and I ain't heard nobody mention his name yet in this building, and we had 600 people packed in that spot. My mother, Ms. Mother Hazel Stewart, come on up front, Mother Hazel. The Honorable Annette Lartigue, who was my West Ward councilwoman when I first got here, and an ally on that council board. Please come on up front, Annette. My brother David Potton, who's always been speaking truth to power in this city and has done the work. My man David Potton, please. We've got my brother, when I first got here, who showed me the ropes of what needed to happen in this city because he spent his whole life in this city. And he loves this city. My man Andrew Bobbitt, come on up front, please. Brother doesn't live in this city, but he really lives in this city. He brought his wife here just so that she could see where he actually lives. Because he does so much work here, he's always in this zip code. My man Jelani Garrett. The president of the board of Henry J. Austin, my friend and my brother, Mr. Charles Davis. And the new president of the NAACP, Mr. Austin Edwards. So you have all heard the Reverend Dr. Pastor Boyer talk about power, implications, and impact. In order to have power and the right implications and impact, I'd love to hear from you all. 3 minutes, please. What does being in search of community and how do we make sure that we use this power, the implications or the right implications for our folks, and get the right impact from your particular perspective? And we're going to start with the Honorable Dr. Diane Campbell.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I spent some time last night thinking about community and looking for a definition of community, and I found about 25. And so which definitions actually apply to what we need right now? And that has to do, in my mind, with people in this location and their needs. At Shiloh Baptist Church, we have a 501c3 nonprofit that is the Community Development Corporation. And if you look at our churches, within the churches and among the people, you can see what the needs are. The grief needs, the hunger needs, family needs, all of these kinds of things go together that become a basis for our communities. And we can see through our churches and we can see through the people around us what some of those needs are. So Reverend Armstrong challenged me to be the leader of this ministry, to be able to look at community development and to assess the needs of people. And we have, in addition, because the community development connects with missions in our church, I work very closely with Caroline McMahon, who is here, and she's sitting in the back there, as we look at what the needs are. So as I looked at needs, and what he asked me to do was attend community meetings and to listen. And what I heard among the needs, number one, everywhere, safety, especially on our streets. Number two, senior citizens, care for senior citizens. And if you think about what used to be baby boomers are now our seniors, the largest group in the population that need care. I was riding along Bellevue Avenue one day, and there was a senior woman who was dragging bags along the street. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder how far she has to go. And I went around the corner, and it bothered me, so I came back, and I stopped, and I said, I'm not supposed to pick up strangers in my car. And you're not supposed to get in the car with strangers, but if you like, I'll take you where you're going. And she got in the car, and I took her. She had a long, if I had to walk the distance that she was going to have to walk, bearing those packages that she had, I don't know how I would have done it. So when we look at these little transportation needs, how that equates to our hunger, maybe she would have had to put some of those bags down at some point, and then that she wouldn't have had anything to eat. We don't know. But how we look at that. Also, how we are caring for our young people, that they have things to do. And in addition to that, all of the community development that goes on at Shiloh Baptist Church, especially through our 501c3, one of the ones that we've had that has existed the longest is our Freedom School, and there are Freedom Schools throughout the country. Ours has existed probably the longest. We serve between 80 and 100 kids every summer. We are lifting their test scores. And the other thing I'd like to bring to your attention in terms of how we talk about the bad stuff, some of the good stuff has to do with our Serenity Garden. And the Serenity Garden is there at Prospect and Bellevue. People give to it. We have students from Trenton State that come to help us with the flowers and the upkeep. We've had benches that are donated, and if you go by there, you see people who are sitting there, maybe waiting for the bus, maybe having their lunch, and it does create a sense of serenity in our community. And these are the things we need to look at too. So as we look at the negatives, also, what are the positives that we could bring in terms of the beauty that people might see every day?
Thank you, Dr. King. John, same question to you.
Well, I mean, it would be easier to answer if Reverend, yourself, and John, and Ms. McCants and everyone else didn't have really, really good ideas and perspectives. And so one of the hard parts about being on the panel like this is by the time you get up here, I'm sitting here checking off, yeah, I was gonna say that, that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna say that, that was really good. That was really good, Reverend Boyer, I'm gonna do that. So, but there's still a little bit of space, I think, left. I think, Austin talked about when he was giving us the data, right? And so oftentimes we talk the talk. Sometimes most times we even walk the walk, but oftentimes we're not counting ourselves while we're doing it. And so, I have three main sort of topics I wanted to bring up, and I thought that was related to at least my 9 years at IOS and 30 plus years of working in community development prior to that. And one is, what does good look like? Right? And so what I really love about the United Black Agenda is not only does it sort of give us what it is that that map, but it also allows us to put mileposts along the way. Because too often times we have, whether it was our previous city councilor or others, where folks will tell us we're going in the wrong direction. And then Austin will say, this is where our data is telling us where we're going. How are we going in the wrong direction if we move in there? Because we're not gonna get wherever we need to be immediately. And so oftentimes folks will tell you you're going in the wrong direction when reality is, well, you're moving in the right direction. And so we need data on top of our agenda here to make sure that we put those mileposts in place. The second thing is that we need to be asset driven. Like Reverend Boyer, I've worked in a number of other cities before spending the last 10 years running aisles. And I can tell you that Trenton is really difficult for us to be asset driven. We have a lot of nonprofits. When nonprofits write grants and we could go for money, we have to talk about oftentimes what the deficits are, what's not there. And so it makes it very difficult for us to think about it from an asset-driven approach. And so we need to talk about that because hope can be a strategy. It's an important part of any strategy. And so if we don't think about things from an asset perspective, whether it's education or crime, would it be surprising to you to know that Camden City, though it gets all of the publicity about development and all that, has worse test scores in education, worse crime scores, right? But if you look at our publications, the Trentonian, you look at what people are saying about Trenton, right? It makes it seem as if we're worse, right? So we need to be asset driven. We need to know what good looks like, and we need to be inclusive. The reality is our city is changing. It continues to evolve, right? And it's important for us to be inclusive. Not all black folks are alike, right? And not all brown folks are alike. But having opportunities like this, where we can have this common conversation and gain that common ground. What I liked about Reverend Boyer's remarks was, first you gotta stand your ground before you can gain your ground. And while you're gaining that ground, you need to be measuring it, right? And you need to be determined to see the good while you are doing that. And you need to bring all people around with you. So thank you for your remarks. Good.
John, you right on.
Look at that.
Thank you so much. Now, Mother Hazel? Mother Hazel?
Yes.
You the mother. You got 4 minutes, but I know you like to press the mark just a little bit.
Well, I got some time.
Come on,
I'd
Mother
like to
Hazel.
say good morning to everyone. You know, when my pastor got up, I belong to Greater Mount Zion. I've been here for a while. But when my pastor spoke, I said, we don't need to speak at all because he did it. But I want to say to you, and the First Lady was there cheering him on, and everybody on that side. But I want to let you know that I am a community person. And I feel that when you live in a community, you don't have to know everybody, but you can get up in the morning and just wave your hand if you see them. And I also would like to say to everyone, if you live there, take care of your own community. Take care and help people. You know, when I met the commissioner, I didn't know him, but he asked me a few things and I said it. But I want to let everyone know that you need to take interest in this city that we live in. And we need to try and love one another. And not be, because we know every time you speak of some racism, it's going to always be here. We were born in this. But let's not get hung up on it. And I would say the things that my pastor said, I loved it. Because we need to help one another. And when we work with someone in the political world, we need to tell them, you came to ask me and I said yes. And now I'm asking you. This is what we need. And we need to work with one another. And we need that every politician know. You're here for us now that we got you here. You're here for us. Let's do it together. We need to even check on the police force. I have some very good friends. Everybody's not bad, but they're bad enough. But we need to look and we need to check our own community. And we must live and love and help one another. God bless all of you.
Pastor, she coming for your spot. Let me say, before we go to the councilwoman, Mother Hazel doesn't just talk the talk, she walks the walk. She's been leading her community for years. And if you want evidence of that, during election time, all you need to do is drive down her street. I took a video of it because I was so impressed. On her street looks like during election time, it looks like one of those big box stores. Everything looks exactly the same. It's in the same spot, it's in the same order. Because the people on her street basically said, Ms. Hazel, how should we vote? Who do you like? Because we haven't followed these people. Ms. Hazel said, if you don't see a sign on my lawn, then don't put it on your lawn. I got video in my phone. I'm amazed. I'm going down her whole street, every house on her block, same exact sign in the same exact order, all the way down her block, because she's been leading by example. So we appreciate leaders like you. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. Another person who does that is my sister, Annette Lartigue. We're talking about power, implications, and impact. How do we make impact in our community in this way?
First, I'd like to thank the pastor and the first lady, because I know dealing with people is difficult. I don't care who they are, where they come from, what they look like. People are difficult. And then there's good people. And that's the people who show up to events like this. I want to shout out Tracy Syfax and John Harmon for 2 reasons. When I became an elected official, along with the West Ward, they held me accountable. They showed up at council and said, this is what we want. And some things started to happen. And I appreciate that, because I think if you ask me what's different now, I think folks have forgotten that solidarity, our money, and our vote is what makes the difference. If you don't understand that your vote is the value, it's the common denominator here, you're gonna miss the message. And if you miss the message, you're gonna get lost. You can't blame elected officials if you put them in office and leave them there unsupervised. No disrespect intended, because the West Ward, when I was serving, they weren't going for it. I had to meet with them every month, right, Ms. Hazel? Who was the boss of me, and would call me up and say, get a pencil and a piece of paper, because this is what you're gonna do. I didn't talk back, I just did it. I knew better. But I said that to say this. To each his reach, but if you don't understand the value, the common denominator of people, the vote, solidarity, and our money, we spend trillions and we go after jobs. If you had the toilet paper contract, you'd be a millionaire. Just for the state alone. They took civics out of education for a reason. Don't get lost. You know, I understand and I know that the community, this community, deserves a real and fair opportunity. And so, having been in a position to flip the script in terms of jobs and contracts, they tried to, you know, they were going to file charges against me for flipping the script and giving everybody a fair opportunity. And I'm going to tell you something in this field, and those of you who serve can attest to this, it's not always easy.
That's right.
It's not always easy. But if you put principles before personalities, that's what changes the community. That's what brings the community around. If you ask me what community is, it is people. It's people. If you ask me how it works, it's principles before personalities. You don't have to like me, but if I know what I'm doing, then come on and work with me.
Come on.
Okay? And there are so many people out here you can work with. Leave the personalities alone and stay focused, and I promise you, you'll change the game. Get the solidarity, understand the value of your money, and understand the value of your vote, and you got this. Thank you.
David Ponton, come on behind that.
Well, first of all, I'm going to thank the pastor and the first lady for opening their doors for this event, because I think it's a great event, and I heard some great things today. All the things that we need to start moving Trenton forward. And I'm going to be frankly honest with everybody in the room. And a lot of this, there's probably ordinance on the books for a lot of the things I'm about to talk about. But one of Trenton's problems is filthiness. When you go around this city, you see more trash in the street than anything else. I get angry when I see somebody ride down the street and throw something out the window. I don't care what it is. I get angry about it because they're trashing our city. If we can clean our city, we can make a difference. I remember years ago, I was doing community organizing training, and I was in Chicago, Illinois, with the organization called National People's Action. And under MPA, we talked about a lot of things that was going on in our communities. And one of the things was how our communities are trashed. And they asked me to speak about it, and I spoke on it. And my analogy was real simple. When you see a community full of trash, it's like walking into a house full of roaches, right? Drug dealers thrive around trash, right? And if we want to change our city and the way we see things in our city, we got to change how our city look. So when you go into a house and you turn on the light, you flip on the light, and you see roaches scatter all around. Well, drug dealers are the same way. The light switch for drug dealers is the police. When they flip the switch and the police show up, they scatter all over the place. But you see a few scattered around who just hang around and they get arrested. Those are the roaches we can step on. But just as soon as we turn the light out, the roaches return, right? And the only way the roaches can thrive in an environment like that is if it's filthy. Because if it's not filthy, they don't have nowhere to hide. Drug dealers hide their drugs under the trash. Mm-hmm. We don't go looking under the trash. We don't move the trash. But if we clean it up, it gives them nowhere to hide their stuff. And it begins to change how the city is. And in our city, it is filthy. And it needs to be cleaned up. Andrew, you sitting right here with me right now today, and I'm gonna say this, because it pisses me off when the garbage men come to pick up trash. Sometimes they leave more trash than they pick up. And it pisses me off when they do it, right? If we can get our businesses to start cleaning up around their business, cut their grass once a week, put flowers around, make it look nice, put a garbage can out in front, make the people who go in their stores and get stuff and put it in the garbage can, it'll begin to change how our city is. And the last and least and foremost is that if we want our politicians to listen, we got to get out and vote.
Come on now.
Because if we don't get out and vote, they don't think we mean anything. We get 5,000 people to show up to vote in the city of Trenton where there's 83,000 people registered to vote. That's a problem. That's a big problem. So we got to begin to educate our neighbors about voting and what it really means to vote. And you'll hear someone say, oh, they're not going to do nothing for us. They're not doing nothing for us because you're not doing anything. You got to stand up. I heard that today. You got to stand up. If we want them to be accountable, then we got to stand up. I have not missed an election in over 20 years. And every last one I vote. I don't care what it is.
15 seconds.
So, you know, that's what I want you to take from here today. We got to clean up and we got to vote. Thank you.
All right, Robin, you coming in as relief pitcher here, you're going to throw some heat after all these heavyweights.
Always been a starter, so. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Boyer. I walked by Reverend Boyer, and I told him I don't even know what to say to him. I don't even know what to say when I get up here because he said everything basically I wanted to say in a nicer tone than I would say. Because y'all know how I am. But the thing, I was just in my office, I get people come in my office, the mayor's office, citizen concern, and community engagement. I meet about 15 people per day with their problems in the city. And then there was one group that a couple people came in and was talking about why is the Latinos, Liberians, and the Jewish people getting all the property in the city of Trenton. And I sat back, and I sat back and was like, they think we giving it to them. People really think the mayor's just here, y'all can have it for free. And I told them, when I came here in 1969 during the riots, it was the riots, and I lived on Locust Street, right by Chambers, Trenton High, and the Italians and the blacks fighting each other, get thrown out of car, and looking at white people get almost killed. In every community, in the 70s, 80s, every corner store was ran by a black person in our communities. We had restaurants in our communities. We had laundromats. I could walk down the street, black laundromat, cleaners in our community. And when they asked me that question, it just really pissed me off because we had more black cops in the 70s and 80s in our community. We had 3 black mayors from 1990 to 2014. And it looked like our black community just started going down more when we should have been striving. When I got to City Hall, we had 2 black directors. Even the garbage men were white. Mayor Palmer brought all these people in. We got black people in office. We start getting more black politicians in office. But guess what? Our black community was still going down. So I don't blame, when they was asking that question, why Latinos get more business and why they getting that. Won't you just blame them and look at yourself and say, what have we been doing? As a community and leaders in this city, what have we been doing? I sit back and think about the people that got me involved in politics when I was on the street doing something else. For Mayor Palmer,
1 minute, Andrew.
Bill Watson, and all of them got me involved. Edith Savage, Ethel Grant, they know who I'm talking about. And I listened to what they did. But a lot of our black leaders did not. We listened what they did, but they didn't teach us what they knew. There's a difference in that. It's a difference. And I promised myself, and you could talk, I could talk to Perry Shaw, talk to Stacey Hattie, Austin, Dave Pine, all of us talk about where are our leaders to teach us. And I promised myself, in the last 12, 13 years since I've been around in these politics, I've been teaching the next generation.
15 seconds.
Not showing them, teaching them. Stacey, no, I'm being Stacey be up talking on the phone all night. A lot of them don't want to be involved in politics, but you can't do nothing unless you are involved in politics. You gotta vote, you gotta know what these people are doing. And I get frustrated. And John Harmon ran against Doug Harmon 2 times. Me and Tracy Safex used to argue and everything. But after the election was over and you lost, we worked together. We worked together. I don't argue with a lot of people in here, and they know it. But guess what?
Wind down.
Everybody laughing.
Andrew, wind down.
Okay. But what I'm trying to say, but we still work together. And that's what we have to get back to. Let's stop blaming the next person. Let's start taking our organization from why. We talked about this with the mayor. We need to have the why, the boys club, all of us working together, aisles, but we don't. We don't. Until we start working together with the churches, community groups, organizations, and get our pastors to get from that pulpit, right, Reverend Boyer? You know what we talked about. This is the only way this city gonna strive.
Good job, Andrew.
All right? So thank you for letting me know.
See, Pastor Boyer, he coming to your pulpit one Sunday. He coming one Sunday.
No, I'm a member of Calvary Missionary Baptist Church. I'm there every Sunday.
Brother Jelani.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's still morning time. Sorry.
It's still morning.
First, I'd like to acknowledge the Capital City Area Black Caucus for inviting me into these community conversations. In particular, Mr. John Bailey and Sam Frisbee. I think this is my 3rd time being a part of this, and I appreciate them recognizing the work that we're doing and inviting us into the conversation. To Pastor Boyer and his wife, I second it really. I think he said it all. I don't think much more needs to be said, but I will say that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And I think that's what he spoke to. He spoke to a unified agenda, unified action, and that is some of the things that I think that are missing in our work. So I appreciate him. I've had the opportunity to sit with him on a couple of occasions, and he has been consistent in his admiration for the Trenton community, and it shines through. And I believe that the longer he's here, that more good works will happen. We'll see more good works working with him. I also want to acknowledge my Board of Commissioners member, Mr. John Raines is in the room, the Trenton Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. I have THA leadership in the room, Ms. Kaya King Green, who is our Director of Resident and Community Services. Also our community liaison, Freedom Green, and last but not least, my lovely wife, Nina, who came here with me today. I will say, along the lines of what we're talking about, I'm very proud of our work at the Trenton Housing Authority. In fact, as of today, we have 9 directors. 6 of those directors are homegrown from the city of Trenton, 5 black men and 3 black women. So we are attempting to effectuate change through an organization that has been in the community for 85 years. And I would start with, to just say on that level, I think that is a part of community. I think that it was talked about, I once heard a brother said that in the 60s and 70s, we were looking for representation in high places. And I don't know that representation in high places alone helped us move along. I think that's part of the discussion that we're talking about. But I would just encourage, when you talk about community, I think that if everyone stands on their square, then community will get better. I think you don't look the other way. If you have an assignment, you take that assignment and you give your 110% to that assignment. If you're responsible for an organization, you educate yourself and learn about. Wow, that's 3 minutes already. I was timing myself.
You got 30 seconds.
Okay. So anyway, wow. So I would real quick. I would say that the 5%ers like to say positive education always causes elevation. And I was educated by Pastor Boyer about all the things that social justice was doing. And I think that around the country and communities, people are doing a number of excellent things, but we need to be educated about it. We need to communicate with one another. And maybe we're not going to have a mass movements like we had in the 60s and the 70s, but I look at it as if positive cells, positive conglomerates. And as we learn about each other, we come together and it creates more positive movement in the community. So, well, I will do an anecdotal point on standing up for your community. When my wife and I bought our first house, it was in a challenging neighborhood, a lot of trash that was talked about. And, I took a forward position that, I would cut my grass, I put a fence up, and then when the young brothers and sisters was walking by littering, I would address them, and I would say to them, look here, look what we trying to do. I would talk to them and say, imagine your community with, they made fun of me and talk to my daughter and say, your dad crazy, talk about the plush green grass. But I was trying to get a vision to, we don't have to live like this. Imagine your community clean. Imagine your community with plush grass. And I think that's what's happening is we're scared to talk to our children. The elders now, they're going the other way because they're scared or they don't know how to relate. And I know it's very difficult, but we have to talk to our children. We have to address our children. We have to address the young people and give them a vision of a better way. So that's
Dr. Charles Davis, from your Air and Space, how do we deal with power, implication, and impact?
All right, thank you so much. First, thank you to the Capital City Area Black Caucus for this invitation to participate in this discussion, as well as the pastor and first lady of this house for welcoming this community to have this very important conversation. One of the things that I learned relatively quickly in my career is not to stand between people in the exit door. And we are near the end, and I will not be before you long. One of the things that quite honestly is challenging for me in this space is, if I can use a religious adage, is you end up preaching to the choir. Right, so we've heard a lot of excellent points. We've already heard a lot of excellent recommendations. We've already heard a lot of excellent things that have been done or on the deck to be done. So it's redundant to repeat it in a different way, but you're saying the same thing. And you're saying it to people largely who already know that, which I do think this impressive audience is amongst those persons who already know what we're talking about. So what I will say is two things. One, it's interesting, having looked at this United Black Agenda, that the first sentence in the opening paragraph deals with the access to quality health care. So obviously, as chairman of Henry J. Austin Health Center, that's the business that we're in, is providing access to quality health care, because we understand and appreciate that a healthy person translates to a productive person, which translates to a promising person. And we do not turn anyone away, right? So if a person is underinsured or non-insured, or has the capacity to pay, we do not turn away, we deliver the service, right? So that's important. So I'm interested in looking at potential partnerships in terms of how we can ramp up the relationships between Henry J. Austin and the various interest groups to make sure that we're getting people access to quality health care. The second point, and my last point, is this. In the various spaces that I've been in, with the various challenges that we've been presented with, I've learned and I've come to really, really appreciate that first off, there's room for everyone at the table, because I think a lot of people are challenged in understanding that, right? That there's room for everyone. People bring different value to the table. But there's also various forms of leadership, right? And one that I've learned and I've become to really appreciate is that of servant leadership, right? How do you lead people? By serving them. And I think the challenge here is, how do we take this agenda and all of the ideas and all the opportunities and translate that into terms and into actions that are relatable to people who may not understand this, and do it in a way where we're serving them. We're serving them, but by serving them, we're also leading them, right? So this is all excellent. All these points were great. I will not be repetitive, but if I had to add on how do we gain ground, I think we gain ground by serving the ground, by tooling the land, side by side with the very people that we believe need the guidance, right? Most people, it's very true, most people will not dig a ditch for you, but they will help you dig a ditch. But you have to be willing to dig the ditch as well. So I would just offer up the notion and attitude of holding our elected officials, our leaders, ourselves to the concept of servant leadership.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Brother Austin, let's bring up the rear, brother. You finishing us up?
All right,
3
and
minutes.
I promise I actually won't be long, because I know I'm probably the last thing in between you guys and the Taylor Swift concert down in Philadelphia.
Then you can take an hour.
I'm kidding. Concert was last night. All right, so. But thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to come and speak, Brother Sam. Like you said before, having a seat at the table. I'm sorry, I'm a little on the corner. Having a seat at the table is important. But to add to that, if you don't have a seat, just make sure, like I did, bring your own chair and make sure that you're at the table. So, my remarks about what is community and how do we achieve community. Reverend Boyer started it off, right? It's getting these organizations, getting these talent networks that we already have together, right? That's the CCABC, that's the NAACP, that's SANS, those are the churches, Mercer County Community College, THA, thank you, brother, Henry J. Austin, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was another Howard grad or Howard doctor, Henry J. Austin? Yeah, there it is. There it is. Shout out to Howard, HU all day, right?
You know, you get an extra 3 minutes.
But getting these organizations not to work just separately, but together. There is strength in numbers. The analogy of disparate organizations working together, but coming together as a strong fist to knock out the issues that we have. That's community. Now, a little controversial point I may make, that's only one community we need to make. We also had to take moments like this and spaces like this, like we have in Trenton, and not to say, hey, these issues are only for the African American community. Everything I quoted before, they broke it down by race as well. A lot of these things that we're facing in the Black community are the exact same issues in the Hispanic community. It's the same issue for, they may not be as numerical before, but the white community that's still here in Trenton. Yes. I recognize even with the NAACP, facts are facts. Half of our founders actually were white people. From our beginning, we were a multicultural organization, and that's the work that we also have to do, especially here in Trenton. Right, so getting the poor, getting the rich, getting people like John Harbin, the richest of us who can still afford trade. John, I'm messing with you too. But my mentors like Sam, my mentors like Andrew, who also center people like myself, millennials, young people, right? Us yuppies out here, putting us forward in these leadership positions, mentoring us so we can take that mantle. Getting all of these separate organizations together and forming strong fists so we can knock out these issues, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but taking just one punch isn't going to be enough. We need to be able to hit people, these elected leaders, these officials, right? These policymakers, the people who control these levers, the resources out here with a hook uppercut combo. That little jab that we were doing before, just barely getting together, isn't making a dent. We have to keep hitting them with all of the problems and all of the resources and solutions that we can. So that's my idea of getting a community together, unifying us all together so we can be that much more of a threat and that much more of a powerhouse here in Trenton.
Excellent. So here's how we're going to do it, because I've got like 4 minutes left. I'm going to ask you all to stay there. John has 1 point to come up and make. I think he has one more announcement. Then I'm going to close this out and we're going to be out.
Amen. Give everyone a round of applause. This was rich. The point I want to make is kind of a historical point. I've been privileged to be here at the Chamber 26 years now, but this was Bill Granville's vision. And we've just taken it to another level. But during the Mack and the Jackson administration, they started this Trenton Economic Forum here in Trenton. But we were never invited. The Princeton Chamber, even most recently, they still held the event and we were not invited. And so we're here to serve, to drive an economic agenda to bring our people into play. And so the president of the Princeton Chamber, a guy named Peter Crawley, as I was moving from MTAC to the state organization, we reached out. He reached out to me to kind of work with him, but then I was moving on, so he was working with a guy named Herb Ames, and they formed a collaboration, and I was the enemy. And so now Peter has moved on from the Princeton Chamber and he's stood up a TV station. And so he reached out to me after we had signed on with a Black TV station, RBN in Mount Laurel, and expressed his dismay and disappointment. How could we make that decision to go with a Black station and not with him, although he's coming here in Trenton. I'm just saying, listen, know them that labor among you, right? And just ask him, you know, if he's going to be here in Trenton, is he committed to Trenton, or does he have another agenda? So I'm not sharing my personal situation to try to defame someone, but you need to understand the dynamics. Trenton is on the move. Now everyone wants to come here, but we've been here, right? Serving you all. So I said to him that we're not participating, and none of my staff is going to participate, because he owes this community an apology to understand we have value, and we're representing our people with integrity and credibility. Thank you all, and happy Mother's Day.
So very quickly, make 2 points, and then we're going to get out of here. First point, we've got a pipeline, a continuum of leadership that is here. Everyone that is in this room, you are leaders. But one person told me that the definition of leadership is, if you're taking a walk and you look behind you, there are people that are working with, that are following behind you. So we need to make sure that we are connected. And there's a continuum of leadership that is here. You've seen some of the leadership that's here. But I want to recognize people like Brother Ed Bullock, who's in the back, who's been leading here for years. Brother John Raines, who was handed the reins from his mother, who's been leading here for years. You got people like my man Stacy, who's been leading here for years. My man Freedom, who's been leading here for years. Right? We've got elders, that's that crew back there, but then you got this middle group that's here. And now we got some folks like Austin, who are coming behind us. And we want to make sure that we are paving the way for him in his generation to lead in a manner that is worthy of the people that are in this city. And so in order to do that, we have to do a couple things. A good mentor of ours, John Hart and I, with Jerry Harris, we pulled together a group called the Brothers probably about 7 years ago. And we pulled that group together because one of the things that Jerry always used to say, and I used it in my master's dissertation, which is that that relationship precedes work. A lot of times, we always talk about going to work, but we don't know one another well. We need to spend more time with one another and get to know one another as we're doing the work. Because the relationships will give us grace when sometimes the eye test doesn't give us grace. All right, so let's make sure that we are doing those things. I want to thank you all, to the mothers that are in the building. Happy Mother's Day coming up tomorrow. I'm sorry, Senator Stockman, another one of our elder leaders in the area. Senator Stockman tries not to miss one of the Capital City Area Black Caucus meetings. Thank you for being here, and always thank you for your presence. But happy Mother's Day to those mothers, and I will leave you with this, mothers. This is the most important holiday of the year besides the birth of Christ and besides Resurrection Day, right? But this is the most important celebratory day of the year, because it's mothers that not only bring life into this world, but then they nurture that life while they're doing everything else in the books. And so for those of you, I had somebody tell me yesterday, well, I don't have any children, but you've mothered somebody that you didn't have. And so happy Mother's Day to you all. We recognize as fathers that Father's Day is not a real holiday. They threw that holiday in just to make us feel good because Mother's Day was so big. I know Tessa already left, but that's the real truth. Look, thank you very much. Have an incredible Mother's Day. Enjoy your time this weekend, and thank you for being here.